Thinking about moving to Philadelphia, well, something that might be important to you that you want to think about is walkability. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 most walkable neighborhoods in Philadelphia. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. And we're going to walk all the way up to the northwest. What do you mean, northwest? What are you talking about? We're going to go to a little small neighborhood that feels like a little European fancy village. We're talking about Chestnut Hill. Now, I'm going to talk about 5, and I'm going to let you decide which one you think is the favorite. While they're 1 through 5, I'll let you know what I like the most. So let's get right into it. As we mentioned, Chestnut Hill. It is a little different. Chestnut Hill feels different if you've ever been there. In fact, the rich people back in the day used to go to Chestnut Hill to summer vacation because Chestnut Hill is a little bit higher elevation and is much cooler in the summertime. So the rich folk would go there and vacation. Now, so what does that mean? Well, it's become quite exclusive. Not exclusive in what you think, exclusive as in it's expensive, but you have Germantown Avenue, which is basically the spine of the little town Chestnut Hill. This is where walking feels almost elegant because you do have the cobblestone area of Germantown Avenue, and so it makes it like you're kind of like almost like royalty, but you're probably not, just like me. Now, it does have a walkable score of, you get ready, 92. Yeah, 92, which means you can literally plan your day around walking. What that means is that you got the shops, the cafes, daily essentials, tapas bars, ice cream shops, cookies, yes, cookie shops, these different places that you can eat, entertain, and buy. You got your art galleries, you got your food, you got your shopping. And when I say shopping, I'm talking either clothes or grocery. That all happens straight on down Germantown Avenue. So when you live, especially if you live really close to Germantown Avenue, it makes your life really easy. You can walk to breakfast, do some grocery shop, grab some coffee, at the end, maybe some lunch, and at the end of the day, have some dinner without having to dodge a whole bunch of crazy traffic. Except in the summertime, or except when you have the Harry Potter Festival, or except when Chestnut Hill College is in session or about to start. It gets a little crazy in Chestnut Hill. So yes, there will be traffic, especially on the weekends. So you might have to do a little Frogger game as you cross on Germantown Avenue. Now, what does housing mean? What did I talk about exclusivity? Well, housing here is very expensive. It leans on the historic upscale, which adds to how pleasant it feels when you walk around. You do have large, and I mean large stone homes, row homes, twins. Classic row homes actually defines the neighborhood. Prices reflect that. And you go, what do you mean? Yeah, it's expensive, like I said, to live in Chestnut Hill. If you are thinking about moving to Chestnut Hill or any other area in the Philadelphia and the burbs, you're going to do one thing first, and one thing simple, and reach out to this guy. Here's my contact information. Remember, give me a call, send me an email, and let me know how I can help you. I can start with you, help you in the beginning of the process, all the way to the end of the process of buying, selling, or investing in real estate. But let's get back into Chestnut Hill because that's really what you're here for. Now, the east side of Chestnut Hill does offer more modest row homes and smaller properties. But guess what? They get snatched up real quickly and they're gone in no time. What that means is that, yes, demand is high, supply is low, which gives you high prices. It's just basic economics. But another amazing thing I should say about Chestnut Hill is the Wissahickon Valley Park borders right next to Chestnut Hill. One of my favorite parks. Yes, Fairmount Park is amazing, but to me, number 1 is Wissahickon Valley Park. Love it. You have the bike trails. You just have a big old bike trail up the little mountains. You have walk trails up in the little mountains. You can walk on that little long Forbidden Drive path, which I believe was Pennsylvania's first turnpike. Could be wrong. Let me know, because I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I love about YouTube. Let me know when I'm wrong, or let me know when I'm correct. It's awesome. Either way, you can add that big old Forbidden Drive. You can obviously run. You see runners, walkers, and sometimes you see somebody trotting along on a horse. That's one of the beautiful things about Wissahickon Valley Park. One of my favorite things, you're right next to nature. One of my favorite things about Chestnut Hill is that. Also, you have the regional rail, which connects. You have the east and west regional line from Chestnut Hill. It takes you right down to Center City. It takes about 15 minutes to an hour, give or take. So what that means is that if you're close to the train stations and you're close to Germantown Avenue, why need a car? You really don't. I mean, a lot of people there have a car for a whole family, and it usually just parks in the driveway or on the streets. Parking is usually pretty, not limited, but it's pretty easy there. There's a lot of parking. There's a lot of driveways. So yes, having a car is easy there, but you really don't need it. Nightlife is limited. Yes, nightlife is limited. It is a more of a family-oriented, older crowd. If you're looking for nightlife, Chestnut Hill isn't really it. The shops close earlier than normal, and so do the restaurants and bars. They'll stay open for a while. They'll hang out with you and have a good time. You'll definitely do that. But here's more about neighborhood, more delivers on the neighborhood aspect of things with your, a lot of sidewalks, tree-lined streets, tree-lined sidewalks, but you have that aspect of things. Now let's go. Let's walk down. You get that? Did you get it? We're gonna walk from Chestnut Hill right on down to Germantown. Now, Germantown is one of the most layered neighborhoods in all of Philadelphia. You might go, Germantown, never heard of it. Well, you heard of Germantown Avenue. Well, what happens is that when you can't afford Chestnut Hill, what might you do? But you want to be close to Chestnut Hill? What are you gonna do? You might buy in Germantown. Same thing there. A lot of culture activity. You got coffee shops, bookstores, galleries, music venues, and neighborhood bars that sit within walking distance of long residential blocks. You walk there because that's kind of how the neighborhood works. And you might go, what's the walkable score, Chris? I want to know. Well, guess what? It's higher than Chestnut Hill. It's 95. And that matters because it's not just a small little tourist trap, because Chestnut Hill could be a tourist trap once in a while. It is a full-scale neighborhood with real daily needs. You can grab a coffee, buy books, pick up groceries, and sit down for a casual meal without driving. That's what makes 95 so great. History did play a huge role in Germantown Avenue. Some of the city's oldest, and I mean oldest surviving homes, and they're beautiful, sit right in Germantown, creating like a density, but also human scale streets. Houses are closer together, your neighbors are closer, blocks feel intimate, and that naturally supports, guess what? Walking. You are correct. Does have the neighborhood. Germantown has one of the strongest creative identities in the city. I mean, there's independent galleries, jazz history, performance spaces, and community-driven events keeps Germantown culturally active. Yeah, there's a lot of community-driven events. I didn't know when I moved here years and years ago. Yes, I am a transplant myself. Moved here in 1999. And Germantown is one of those neighborhoods that always kind of intrigues me when it comes to neighborhoods, to walkability, everything goes on. Now, again, price is a little bit lower in Germantown and Chestnut Hill, but you're really practically the neighbor of Chestnut Hill. A lot of people, I hate to say it, that can't afford Chestnut Hill, but they want to be in the same vicinity. They buy in Germantown. Germantown's slowly creeping up price-wise. It's slowly becoming better and better and better. You do have to be careful with Germantown. There's still some neighborhoods, some blocks, I shouldn't say neighborhoods, some blocks around there that are still not quite stabilized, and you might want to avoid. Obviously, if that's what you're thinking, and you're like, I wonder what blocks I should avoid and what you'd be doing if I was to buy in Germantown or anywhere else in Philadelphia in the suburbs. Well, the first thing you're gonna do is do what? You're gonna call me, or you can text me. That's fine too. I'm really good with text. Or send me an email and say, hey, Chris, I'm thinking about moving to Philly in the suburb. What do I do? I'm gonna say be one of several hundred people over the years that have contacted me about real estate, and you're gonna hit me up. Yes, this guy. Now, also transit access in Germantown is really strong. Multiple bus routes, regional rails connects Germantown to Center City, which makes car owning, again, kind of an option. But yes, we are kind of the people we are nowadays. We love having a car, but sometimes it's nice to have a car and not use it as much. Simple as that, save money on gas. Let's go to number 3. Now we're gonna go how we went from we walked from Chestnut Hill to Germantown. Now we're gonna take a long walk and go straight on south down to number 3, which is East Passyunk. And yes, I'm probably gonna say East Passyunk. I know there's no A at the end, but when I moved here, some of the locals would say Passyunk, and I caught on to that. Just like it's actually Queen Village, not Queens Village, but a lot of locals have told me and said it for years and years, hey, go down to Queens Village. And I've caught on that too. That's part of the Philly accent. Sorry, I know some of you get upset when I say Passyunk or Queens Village, but I learned it from some of you Philly people. Anyway, now I will say East Passyunk is probably one of my favorite walkable neighborhoods, not just in Philly, but it's actually one of the most walkable neighborhoods in all of the United States. And you might go, Chris, tell us the score. Seriously, tell us the score. You're not gonna believe the score. It's not 100, but it's a 99. Here, walking is really, it's not really a lifestyle choice. It kind of is what it is by default. Parking is terrible. I'm gonna say it again. Parking in East Passyunk is terrible. And by the way, any other surrounding blocks of Passyunk parking is terrible. But restaurants, shops, bars, stack on top of each other, which makes it very tight and very dense when it comes to being down there. That's why parking is not always the best thing. A lot of people that live in that area actually don't have a driver's license. In fact, don't even own a car because they caught on real quick. Sometimes you have to park 3, 4, 5 blocks away from your house. Or, hey, sometimes you might park in the wrong spot and your car gets towed or you get a parking ticket. So you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and go, you know what? Let's get rid of the car. Why have a car if you live in East Passyunk? Considering that the fact that you do have subways, you do have buses that are easy accessible to get to Center City. Philly, or if you want to go to the, the good old stadiums, you could walk from East Passyunk to the stadium, I guess. Can you? Yeah, you could. It would be a long walk, but that's part of living in Philly sometimes. Food is a major issue. Not an issue. Food is a major thing in East Passyunk. People come there just for the food. You got the easy mom and pop shops. They also got some elite and awesome restaurants. So a lot of people, what happens is that, especially in the summertime, spring, summer, and fall, one downfall of East Passyunk, it gets very crowded. It gets packed with tourists. Foodies come down there to try out the food. Good thing, again, everything is close by. You can do your shopping. You can do your eating. You can do your hanging out with your friends. You really don't have to leave Passyunk or South Philly area ever if you want to do that. Prices are pretty high. Yes, they're up in the 400s. I just had somebody from Washington, D.C. moving up here, relocating here, and they're actually 2 blocks away from the official neighborhood of East Passyunk. But guess what? The house was a lot cheaper, about 50 to 80,000 cheaper than you would get if it was 2 blocks over. When you buy a house in Philly or you sell a house in Philly, it's very important. Block by block, you can buy a house on 1 block, 5 minutes over down the street, totally different prices. In fact, it could be so crazy. It could be like anywhere from a $70,000 to $100,000 difference. Remember that when you are looking at houses here, thinking about what you're going to do. Now, next, what are we going to do next? Let's go to number 2. And you might go, number 2, where are we going to go next? Well, now we walked south. Now we're going to walk north. We're going to go to Northern Liberties, or No Libs, as we call it around here. I will tell you, about 20 years ago, Northern Liberties was definitely not Northern Liberties. And if you're from Philly, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to get into details. That was an area you just didn't really want to go to. Didn't matter day or time, morning, afternoon, or evening. You definitely don't want to go there at nighttime, but it has been completely redone. About 20 years ago, I would say more like 10 to 15 years ago, basically a big developer came in and said, I'm going to change this area. And in fact, this area, I'm going to call it Northern Liberties, and we're going to base it on walkability. So the score in Northern Liberties is 96. Yes, a big old 96. And it shows up in daily life. Everything you need is stacked close together. You will see a younger crowd here. You won't see as many families and older people here because it is a lot more livelier here. Everything is very dense. A lot of people walk and ride their bikes here. A lot of the old buildings have been torn down and everything is more packed together to make it the neighborhood that it is. The shops, the gyms, the bars, the restaurants, the galleries, music venues, it all smack jammed in there. But it makes for an awesome area. It really does. A lot of the older row homes were torn down and replaced with apartment buildings, townhomes, new row homes, condos. Thankfully, a lot of those newer places came with parking. So that makes things a little bit easier, where a lot of people actually, they have a car, they park it in the driveway, usually in the back of the house, and they just leave it there because of your walkability score and the fact that you could actually ride a bike. And you're also close to the Market Frankfurt train line. So you can jump your subway there, go into Center City if that's what you want to do. And that's basically what's happened with Northern Liberties. It's become very much modern and it's an awesome place to hang out. It really is. But you got to keep in mind, just like any place in Philadelphia, you don't want to veer too far away from Northern Liberties because things might be a little different. Prices in Northern Liberties can go anywhere from $250,000 all the way up to $600,000, $700,000, depending on what kind of housing you want. It's up to you. You can find 1-bedroom condos there, but you could also find beautiful 3, 4, 5-bedroom row homes. Now the prices, like I said, have gone up, and so the same thing for rent. It used to be very competitive over there. Supply has gone up, so demand has gone down a little bit, but Northern Liberty is still very, very much a hot spot to live in. So let's get to number 1. Well, is it number 1? I don't know. You tell me if it's number 1. Some people might be surprised when I'm about to tell you, because the number 1 is Mount Airy. Now, Mount Airy is an interesting one because the walkability score is 78. And you might go, wait, did he say 78? Yes, he did. 78. But Chris, why is it on the list? Well, because it is an walkable neighborhood. It's an unusual neighborhood because it depends on where you live. Now, Mount Airy is very much opposite of Northern Liberty. It's more greener, quieter, and more spread out. That makes the walkability, walking a little bit further. You have to walk a little bit further to get to the restaurants, to the bars, to the galleries, to the coffee shops, to the grocery stores. Now, if you live too far away from east or west, depending on where you're living, your house is too far away from the hustle and bustle of Mount Airy, the walkability score is going to be a lot lower than 78. But you see why it still works. Like I said, neighborhood is split into east or west. Some will say east is better, some say west is better. I'd love to know what you think. What is better, east or west? Comment below. But it is with Germantown Avenue is acting as basically the connector between east and west. That's why the walkability concentrates, I just mentioned, grocery stores, bookstores, bars, libraries, and everything. the essentials are in that corridor. So if you live too far away, car might be more of an option for you. But if you live close by, why not walk? Mount Airy is one of those neighborhoods where nothing is rushed. Tree-lined streets, tree-lined sidewalks, big sidewalks, easier parking a lot of time, and green space is a huge part of life here. Yes, you're also part of Wissahickon and Valley Park borders to the neighborhood. Again, like I talked about, Chestnut Hill and Germantown. Miles and miles of trails. Housing is a little more accessible here than compared to some of the trendier neighborhoods. That doesn't mean the houses sit on the market for very long. I will tell you they do not, especially depending on the block and whatnot. Some of these houses get snatched up in days, less than a week. So if you are looking to move there, obviously you're going to reach out to this guy, or if you're going to move anywhere else, even if you're leaving the city, going to the suburbs, you're leaving the state, you're going to reach out to me. But if you're looking to move in here, I'd love to help you. Like I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the years to make Philly your home, or even the suburbs your home. You're definitely going to reach out to me. Either way, culturally, Mount Airy has a strong community identity. Like it really does. Independent bookstores, independent art galleries, local pubs, neighborhood theaters keeps things rooted in here. It's just not about play. It's not about chasing a trend. Like Northern Liberties, East Passaic will have a tendency to more chase a trend, but Mount Airy is more of a calm demeanor, calm neighborhood. But that's one of the things that appeals to a lot of people when it comes to Mount Airy. It does offer walkability, not a lot of pressure into it. You can go into the greenery. So that while compared to the Northern Liberties where things move fast, just like East Passaic, things move fast, Mount Airy moves very slow, very slow. A lot of people love that. So either way, there's our, I would say, top 5. You asked me before, I love East Passaic. I really do. Seriously love East Passaic. It's just an amazing little neighborhood. Don't live there. I've been there many times, sold many houses over the years. And yes, parking there is a pain in the butt. And if I was to live there, I probably wouldn't have a car because I got things like Uber and Lyft and so on and so forth. That's why I put that as number 1. What do you think is number 1? I'd love to hear. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Come on, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I'll see you on the next video.